Alrighty. So after this, Charles, you're going to know the ways that the nitrogen can be converted to a usable format and understand the nitrogen cycle and why it's important. And there's no better way to understand the nitrogen cycle than to watch a video about nitrogen. Alright, well, let's talk about the nitrogen cycle.
I'll never get that bag of chips again.
Life depends upon the cycling of nitrogen. That's why we have to learn, Charles. Because literally, life depends upon the cycling of nitrogen. Nitrogen atoms are required for the cells to make proteins. Nitrogen is also required for the synthesis of deoxyribonucleic acid, or commonly known as DNA, the hereditary material found in all living things. The movement of nitrogen through ecosystem, the soil in the atmosphere is called, surprisingly, the nitrogen cycle. So, number one, nitrogen is required for cells to make. Let me just hit the old start assessment button. Nitrogen is required for cells to make oxygen, carbon dioxide, proteins, or carbohydrates. Why do we need nitrogen? Charles, Brandon?
Yeah.
Why do we need nitrogen? Tiffany?
Right, let's check your hats or which.
And Tiffany, you're going to get that thing, but you're
Right?
yeah, something else.
I didn't see.
Why would you have it in your ear if you're not listening? What'd you get? Oh.
Okay, I didn't
Would
see.
be.
Somebody tell for my class.
You're an evil genius, Logan. Wow.
Totally rude.
Yeah, I
How much do I bet that it was rude?
Yeah, nitrogen is required for cells to make proteins. The movement of nitrogen through ecosystems, soils, and atmosphere is called the nitrogen cycle, and it's recycled, right? So, atmospheric nitrogen, which you are all breathing in right now, there's atmospheric fixation and there's industrial fixation, and then after that it becomes biological, and it goes into the ground, right? It comes out of the ground through reduction, and then it's protein, and plants and cows eat it, and they poop it out, and it goes back as nitrogen. When you cut your grass and you leave the clippings on the lawn, what happens? They decompose and they put nitrogen back into your soil. If you bag your clippings, then you take away nitrogen and you have to end up fertilizing your grass, which is better for the environment.
Okay. Why are you not saying that?
She's not.
Really?
No.
That'd be amazing.
So she's not invisible. She's not here, so you can relax.
Oh yeah. But seriously, you should not bag your clippings.
That's why we don't.
Yeah. Nitrogen gas, N2, which is one of the, do you remember what those gases are over there on the right?
Religions.
What are they called? Mr. Hofbrinkel gases, right? Diatomic gases. Remember those? There's some review for you. HOFN, Hofbrinkel. Nitrogen gas, N2. It makes up 79% of the Earth's atmosphere. There's a lot of nitrogen. Take a deep breath.
I don't want to be poisoned by
You just breathe in 79% nitrogen.
or breathing in food.
Okay, well, let's read on here. When you consider that nitrogen gas composes nearly 79%,
Oh, I got a good joke now.
probably,
Oh my god, it's
hey,
so
just
funny.
keep it in mind. When you consider that nitrogen gas N2 composes nearly 79% of the Earth's atmosphere, you would think that access to nitrogen would not be a problem for organisms. Unfortunately, that is not the case. Nitrogen gas is a very stable molecule and reacts only under limited conditions. To be useful to organisms, nitrogen must be supplied in another form, the nitrate ion. Okay, Charles, this is the important part. Listen and learn. Maybe your problem in Mr. Love's class is not enough listening.
I can't even listen.
To be useful to organisms, nitrogen must be supplied in other form than nitrate ion, NO3. You might want to highlight that, right? N2 doesn't do anybody any good at all. To be used in organisms, it must be in the NO3 format. The nitrogen cycle is exceptionally complex. The simplified description of Figure 1 shows two ways in which atmospheric nitrogen can be converted into nitrates in a process called nitrogen fixation. The first method is through lightning, and the second is through bacteria in the soil. What's your answer here? We got there yet?
Yeah.
Have we?
This. Well,
Okay. So how do we get this N2 into NO3? Through the process of? Next. There it is. I had a feeling.
Oh my gosh, it has to be
What? Oh, it's called Bob. Yeah. The process of converting nitrogen to nitrate is called nitrogen fixation, nitro-converting, nitrification, or Bob.
Heavenly Bob, it has to be Bob. Bob's the builder.
He is a builder.
See, he must have a great builder.
Drew probably put Bob.
And the answer is, A, nitrogen fixation. Okay? Now, one of the ways that it can be done is through lightning. You're familiar with lightning, I'm sure? A small amount of nitrogen is fixed into nitrate by light lightning. The energy from the lightning causes nitrogen gas to react with oxygen in the air, producing nitrates. The nitrates dissolve in rain or surface water, enter the soil, and move into plants through their roots. Plant cells can use nitrates to make DNA, and they can convert nitrates into amino acids, which they then string together to make protein. When a plant is consumed by animals, the animal breaks down the plant proteins into amino acids, and then can use the amino acids to make the proteins it needs. That's called nitrogen fixation by lightning. The more common way, flip the page. Flip the page. Is there a question on this?
Yeah.
Oh, you guys know more than me. Yes.
Can you not explain number 4 at the start?
Maybe, yeah. So lightning is the first way. Lightning strikes cause nitrogen to react with oxygen and produce nitrates. Is there something to click on here? It feels like there should be something here. Oh, you have to fill in nitrates. Okay. So a nitrate is NO3, right? So it takes oxygen in the air, nitrogen in the air, and the energy combines together to get this NO3 ion. And then these nitrates dissolve into water in the rain and enter the soil, eventually moving into
What happens?
How was those?
Well, it goes from plants that have mostly
Isn't there just an all the above button or?
I don't know.
What's your cycle again?
Hold on. Is it? Probably that. I know it goes into...
This one's probably a little bit
It
harder.
goes into all of them. But I'm just would be just because it's
Oh.
everything.
No, you know what? I'm not convinced I know the answer here. The best answer.
It's in the reading.
Is it? Well, I saw it there, but doesn't it say that nitrates dissolve in rain or surface water, enter the soil, and then move into plants for the roots?
But then it says eventually moving into...
Right. Yeah.
I just...
So if soil was there, that would probably be the best answer, right? Tiffany, you got an answer?
It says dissolves in water, enters the soil, is the question.
Yeah. Oh, and eventually into plants. Gotcha.
I do that.
Yeah. So yeah, it ends up in the soil, it ends up in the plants, which then of course animals will eat, right?
It says...
You know, the rabbits that are raiding your garden and stuff like that. Alright, the second way that nitrogen can be fixated or fixed is by bacteria. Some bacteria, page 2 here, Charles, some bacteria are capable of fixing nitrogen for the protein. These bacteria provide the vast majority of nitrates found in use. They are found mostly in soil. Nitrogen-fixing bacteria can be found in small clumps called nodules on the roots of legumes such as clover, soybeans, peas, and alfalfa. The bacteria provide the plant with a built-in supply of usable nitrogen, while the plant supplies the nitrogen-fixing bacteria with the sugar they need to make the nitrates. This plant-bacteria combination usually makes more nitrate than the plant or bacteria need. The excess moves into the soil, providing a source of nitrogen for other plants. The traditional agricultural practices of including legumes and crop rotation and mixed planting capitalize on bacterial nitrogen fixation. You ever see the big tanks, the fertilizer?
No.
Right? You never seen farmers putting fertilizer on? You know what they spray? Anhydrous ammonia. You guys know what's in ammonia?
No, but I know it's lethal.
Yeah. Well, it's NH3. And so when they're spraying ammonia, they're really putting the nitrogen in the soil. So they're adding like artificial nitrogen. It shouldn't be artificial, but like it's not naturally occurring, right? So some farmers will plant things like beans, any kind of legume, soybeans, particularly alfalfa, peas. They'll plant that, and then those plants will actually produce excess nitrogen, which will go into the soil and sort of reduce the cost of fertilizer. It's kind of like natural fertilizer. Charles has a question.
So would that be like 1 nitrogen and 3 helium?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Oh, I was looking at that.
Some farmers will, and I actually saw this once. We were going to visit a friend of mine down in Souris. You guys know that? Down south there?
Yep.
Okay, so we were going to visit a friend of mine, and we had the family down there lots of with us, and we were driving down this sort of country lane, and they were spreading manure. And that might possibly be the second worst smell I've ever smelled in my life.
I live a mile from people.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. That's
Oh,
big.
Like
those
that?
are disgusting.
That's big.
And that's a lot of nitrogen too, right? Don't they take the pig poop and they convert it into fertilizer at some point?
Yeah, they spread it across all the fields around our house.
Yeah.
In the fall.
And then it sinks, yeah. But they're adding nitrogen to the soil.
I live a mile away from people.
Okay, so
I'll drive here if I can.
bacteria produce nitrates in the soil. It's found in the roots of legumes, things like clover, soybeans, peas, alfalfa. Farmers include legumes in crop rotation to add nitrogen to the fields. There's something I used to know about. You know how you have clover in your lawn?
Yeah.
Okay? It tends to fertilize the lawn. It's an older lawn. Jesse, what are you doing? Pardon me? Oh, okay. When you have an older lawn, it tends to have clover in it because it has certain things that produce the clover that are good for the clover. But it also is well fertilized because the clover will actually fertilize your lawn as well. Okay, that was super easy, that question, I think, right? Bacteria provide the vast majority of nitrates, Charles, found in ecosystems. Relax, man. Relax. I sure wish you would put down the portable locker so I can see what you're up to. You mind? Ready.
Oh, sorry, I was waiting.
True or false? Bacteria provide the vast majority of nitrates found in ecosystems.
True.
Yeah? Well, then hit true.
Logan?
Yes.
Boy, I swear.
Why don't you just listen and then you'll know? You're going to have to learn how to do that in physics because hard.
I will listen.
Yes, that is 100%.
Yeah.
Okay, so what about decomposers? When I say decomposers, what am I talking about?
Like when you're dead. Oh, decomposers, like the things that eat the dead things.
The things that eat the dead things.
Insects.
So like maggots.
Okay, yeah.
Fish.
Fish, nitrogen and decomposers. All organisms produce waste and eventually die. When they do, a series of decomposers break down the nitrogen-containing chemicals in the waste or body into simple chemicals such as ammonia. There you go, there's your ammonia. Other bacteria convert ammonia into nitrites, and still others convert the nitrites into nitrates. These bacteria all require oxygen to function. The nitrates then continue the cycle when they are absorbed by plant roots and converted into cell proteins and DNA. Farmers and gardeners who use manure and other decaying matter take advantage of the nitrogen cycle. Soil bacteria convert the decomposing protein in the manure into nitrates. Eventually the nitrates are absorbed by plants. So that's why they're spreading that manure around. So, Decomposers can break down complex chemicals containing nitrogen into what? Which is a simple chemical. Ammonia, nitrogen gas, CO2, or oxygen. Charles? I'm singing the Jeopardy song in my head. In my head. Decomposers can break down complex chemicals containing nitrogen into what? Which is a simple chemical. It has to be? Why does it have to be? It is ammonia.
What's the other hand go?
Yes, ammonia.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Good, good.
Gardeners use what? Soil bacteria then converts it into nitrates. And I have to click start. Fertilizers, water, manure, coffee grounds.
Garden use
Gardeners.
soil bacteria.
That's BD.
Yeah?
Spreading them.
Spread. That would smell better at Brian's house if it's spread around coffee grounds.
That'd be perfect.
I wonder what Tim Hortons does with their leftover coffee grounds.
Now we really live in, what's that place that I said yesterday to What's that?
Hey Charles, how about work hard by picking an answer here?
Oh, is it just me?
Just you, my friend.
I think oh, I picked it, I just didn't hit finish. Sorry.
Manure.
So fertilizer is also wrong? But isn't manure also fertilizer?
It's a type of fertilizer. It's a natural, yeah.
So technically-
Yeah, I actually take my coffee grounds and put them on the on my cedar trees because cedar tree coffee grounds contain acid, which do well. An acidic soil that works well for.
Because the pine needles are acid.
Yeah.
That's why they take the
I
acid.
put my coffee grounds on the cedar trees.
That's actually really smart.
Okay, so let's read about denitrification. So we've talked about nitrogen fixation. So if you had to explain to me in sort of a very brief sense, what is nitrogen fixation? The process of what?
Nitrogen,
Taking bad nitrogen and making it good.
Usable, right?
like,
Unusable to usable.
so
Not necessarily bad.
breathable.
Okay. Okay, so now what do you think denitrification is? At various stages in the decay process.
I know. I just assuming, like it's where you take it from back, like instead of like.
The other way.
Yeah, it's opposite.
Okay. At various stages in the decay process, denitrifying bacteria can break down nitrates into nitrites, and then nitrites into nitrogen gas. Eventually, the nitrogen gas is released back into the atmosphere. This process, called denitrification, is carried out by bacteria that do not require oxygen. Denitrification ensures the balance among soil nitrates, and atmospheric nitrogen, and completes the nitrogen cycle. So it is the reverse of fixation.
Oh, I knew that.
It is the reverse.
So, is there a question now?
Well, there's going to be here. So denitrification is the opposite of nitrogen fixation. You should know that. That is something for sure. You should know. Tiffany, you don't have an earbud in again, do you? It sure looks like it from here. Oh. Oh. Okay, that's good because I couldn't imagine you would do that.
I could.
So nitrates become nitrites, which becomes nitrogen gas. And it goes into, oh, hang on here. Hang on, I'm reading too far here. And it goes into the atmosphere. Are we good? See, now you're doing the old hold it up by my ear, so it's not in my ear, but I can still listen to it. Well, then why do you have it anywhere near your ear? I don't understand.
She's probably just smart.
But you see, what
I know that.
Here, you stick it in here as much as you want. Well, yeah.
Yeah, he's pretty chill for that, yeah. He takes it and he goes back.
Like, I may look stupid, Tiffany, but
I didn't say you were stupid.
No, you're playing me for the fool. You're like, oh, he'll never know. He'll never know that I'm just holding the earbud near my ear.
Did I say things you know?
No.
You're
You're implying it though. You're like, he's so old he won't get what I'm doing. And then, as Charles pointed out, it was pretty obvious that you just paused it. You know, because even I had to do that.
What are you doing?
Anyways, as I was saying. Okay, Charles. Older lawns often have many denitrifying bacteria. The fact that denitrifying bacteria grow best when there is no oxygen may help to explain why gardeners often aerate their lawns early spring. By exposing the denitrifying bacteria oxygen, the breakdown of nitrates into nitrogen gas is produced. Nitrates then remain in the soil, where they can be drawn in by grass roots and used to make proteins. Okay, so your older lawns have that denitrifying bacteria. If you aerate it, you put holes in it, oxygen gets in there, and more of the nitrogen will stay in the lawn, which will help grow instead of just being released into the atmosphere. Does that make sense? This information may also help to understand why the leaves of some plants may not be a rich green color. Chlorophyll is a protein, and plants require nitrates to make it. The color of the plant's leaves may tell you the nitrate content of the soil. The denitrification process speeds up when the soil is very acid or waterlogged, and oxygen content is low. Bogs, for example, are well known for their lack of useful nitrogen. They can support only a few types of plants, those that are able to live with low levels of nitrogen. Insect-eating plants such as sundews and pitcher plants are commonly found in bogs. In an interesting reversal role, these plants obtain their nitrogen by digesting trapped animals. Killer plants.
Oh, like,
Little shop of horse.
Fly trap.
Exactly. So older lawns have lots of denitrifying bacteria, and aeration helps to improve oxygen, which stops the denitrification. and the soil is better.
So,
Yeah.
so getting back to this manure and fertilizer, you know, so manure is a fertilizer.
Yeah, huh?
So if you were to say that it is a fertilizer on the exam, but then it's also manure, did we get that wrong?
I guess. It depends on how the question's worded, I guess.
That is the same thing. Like gardens are used.
Well, then I'll tell you what, I won't bother noticing.
Okay. So I plug it in.
Here is the nitrogen cycle in animated form. See, there's N2 in the atmosphere. It's fixated by lightning, right? It can end up in the soil, it can end up in the ocean, right? And then it ends up down here in the soil, and then works its way up. Denitrifying bacteria will then do what? When you denitrify, you release N2 back into the
So when you're
atmosphere.
denitrifying,
Denitrifying.
it goes up.
It goes up. Back.
So what is the thing when it goes down?
Nitrogen fixation.
So fixation.
Yeah. Should we make a note of that? Because that's kind of an important point. Let's make a note of that, man. Let's just make a note here. I'll say fixation is from atmosphere N2 into basically like that, right?
Yeah.
And what's the opposite one called? Denitrification. And they are opposite to each other, right? Yeah. Do you need to know that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like the key point. How many more pages you guys got left on your little finger?
Tubes.
Okay.
God.
Last little bit here. Phosphorus cycle. I think we can probably skip the phosphorus cycle. But gee, what do you think happens in the phosphorus cycle?
Fossils.
No, not fossils. Phosphorus. Phosphorus is a key element in cell membranes in molecules that help release chemical energy in the making of the long molecules of DNA and the calcium phosphate of bones. Phosphorus tends to cycle in two ways: a long-term cycle involving the rock's Earth's crust, and a short-term cycle involving living organisms. So you can read about that.
Minerals.
You're not expected to know. Variations in nutrient cycle. Nitrates and phosphate are both nutrients. Nutrients are chemicals that are essential to living things. Do you remember, did I show you the video where trees get their mass from?
Yeah.
And they talked about the
Carbon
nutrients.
dioxide. They
Right.
get it from there.
And they take, did your mom still believe it? Still not believe it? Did
No, I made her believe it.
you made her believe it?
Like I showed her the video.
Oh yeah? She went, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And she said, that Mr. Bennett, he's an awesome guy.
No, I didn't say that you taught me. I just said I found it out.
That was how you learned it on your own.
Yeah.
She must think you're a smart guy.
No, not at all.
No, not at all?
No, she's mean to me. Bro, see, I know the question. Come on.
Oh, you want me to hit it? All right. What are chemicals essential to living things? What could it be, Charles? Oh.
Yeah, I got it.
Water.
Yeah, that's good one.
Maybe I get some.
Water.
I swear. I already know who's gonna get it wrong, I bet you.
Why do you guys do this to me? AJ? Yep.
Oh,
Yay! Okay, let me read the last one and then I'll be quiet. Nutrients are chemicals that are essential to living things. The rate at which nutrients cycle, Charles, through an ecosystem is linked to the rate of decomposition. Organic matter decomposes relatively quickly in the tropical rainforest. Warm, moist soil and the vast number of diverse and specialized decomposers permit a cycle to be complete in as little as a few months. Cycling in cooler forests takes an average between 4 and 6 years. In the even cooler tundra up north, nutrient cycling takes about 50 years. In the oxygen poor environment of most lakes, cycling may take even longer. Temperature and oxygen levels are the two most important abiotic factors regulating decomposition. Other factors such as cell chemistry and the frequency of fire also affect decomposition.
Okay, I know this one too.
What was the homework question?
Yeah. Oh my god, these are so easy if you could actually listen. True. Time to go.
Decomposition occurs fast in warm, moist areas like rainforests, slower in cool, dry areas like town. Oh, it's only true and false. Or as Charles says, it's so much easier when you just listen. Yes, the answer is true. Now, what would you notice about where, like, you've probably never been to the rainforest, and you've probably never been to the tundra, but imagine what it would look like. What would you say about the number of plants?
Well, the rainforest would probably have more.
More plants in the rainforest?
Yeah.
How come?
So then technically,
As force.
if
Yeah, but why?
we can afford nutrients in this soil.
And because the nutrients can cycle faster, right? Like, let's go back to this statement here. Stay with me, you guys. Don't. The rate of cycle is linked to the rate of decomposition rates. So in the rainforest, things grow fast, they die, they decompose, they bring the nutrients, and the nutrients are cycled really
fast.
fast. Whereas you go north to the tundra,
There's not as much nutrients there.
it takes a really long time for the nutrients to cycle, and so there's not many plants because there's not a whole lot of nutrients that are usable.
So you could almost say kind of think like, because like when something's cold, and like, let's say like, if you look at a telephone wire,
Yeah.
if it's cold, it tightens up, but then if it's hot outside, it sags.
Yeah.
So you can think of it as like a cold sheet over top of it, where it's like when it's tight, there's not as much holes for the nutrients to get out.
Yes. I'm interested. I'm going to see if I can find it because I'm interested in the.
I don't know. Sure.